Sitting in the aisle of West Bank Gourmet in New York City, it's another episode of In the Aisle with Jack and Dan. Joining us, our first guest of the podcast. You know him from The Sopranos, Blue Bloods, Mr. Steve Schirripa. Hello, Steve.
How you doing, guys?
How are you? Thanks for joining us in the deli.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
This is where I got to know you because we used to sell your tomato sauce.
I come here all the time.
Here.
Good tuna. Good tuna hero in this place.
Good tuna hero. My dad will be happy to hear that.
Good tuna hero.
I remember as a kid, you would come in and we started selling your tomato sauce in the deli.
Yeah. Well, I used to live right across the street. Now I moved a few. I used to live in Battery Park City. Now I moved more downtown. But it's just good food here. Believe it or not.
It is.
Legit good food.
Last year, I was diagnosed with celiac disease, so I can't eat gluten anymore. And my father still hasn't corrected the menu. He has no gluten-free options here. One day, I'm hoping he'll just get a gluten-free hero.
Yeah, they don't
Give me some gluten-free bread.
That bread is tough, man. I've tried that. I went that route.
Yeah, I always tell people gluten-free bread tastes like what I assume step-parents feel like. That's how it's like. It's not dad, but it's
no. But the food is good. Seriously, I just had fried chicken, which I'll probably have some before I leave.
Yeah, right.
My wife keeps a close watch on everything.
Oh yeah,
I gotta run out. I go and walk 5 miles, then I gotta stop and get pizza on the way.
Do you walk by the water?
Once she's not looking, yeah, most of the time.
That's so nice.
On this side or on the east side.
My dad used to make me run deliveries down there by where like all the yachts are. And that boat yard over there is insane. That's where they shot when they did Wolf of Wall Street. They shot one of the scenes in there of him throwing the motor.
Suburbs of Manhattan.
Yeah, it really is. I feel like it's the city without the hustle and bustle of it. It's a little more quiet.
Just a little bit.
Every now and then we'll have some loud people come in here.
Well, it's gotten some. The city's gotten insane here.
Yeah.
The Blasio's the worst. One of the worst human beings who's ever walked on the face of the earth. He's destroyed this city single-handedly. So.
I don't think many people would disagree with that.
Yeah,
that's it.
I mean,
this was the first place I ever worked, was stocking the shelves, which is a very New York thing. My parents are from Brooklyn. You're from Brooklyn as well?
I'm from Brooklyn, Bensonhurst.
Bensonhurst. You grew up with one of my old baseball coaches, I think, Bob Parks.
Oh, Bobby Parks. Yeah,
so you remember Bobby Parks?
And I still talk to Bobby.
You still talk to Bob? I still talk to him every now and again.
He's
a classic Jersey guy.
He's a good guy.
You know someone is a classic Jersey guy when they say tremendous a lot.
Yeah,
right.
Tremendous pal.
Bobby's a good guy. He was a good ball player, good basketball player, good baseball player.
Yeah. Did you play sports growing up?
Yeah, I played in college, Brooklyn College basketball. Played baseball when I was younger, then played basketball 3 years at Brooklyn College, 1 year at Johnson College.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
My dad dropped out of Brooklyn
100 pounds
College.
ago.
100 pounds ago, yeah. When I stopped playing college athletics, I gained 120 pounds.
You look good now?
Yeah, trying. It's good to be. When you spend some time in Los Angeles, it forces you to get skinnier. I think.
Yeah,
I don't know many people who like.
You're too young to be fat.
Yeah, exactly.
I wasn't that fat when I was younger. I got fat when I was older.
That's the way to do it.
That's how it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
I don't know anyone like I know a lot of people who will be like, I fluctuate between 5 and 10 pounds. Dan's like, yeah, I gained 100 pounds and then I lost 110 pounds.
That's the way to do it.
That's
the
fantastic.
Extremes in both directions.
Yeah,
Exactly.
but you're too young. How old are you?
24.
Yeah, you're too no good.
Yeah, well.
Then you got to settle on a fat girlfriend. You don't want to do that. You're on the road. You should be banging these cocktail waitresses. They don't want to bang the fat guy.
You can't be the waitress at the club, though. That never ends well.
Yeah, no, I know that. I know all about the comedy world.
Yeah, I mean,
you know that.
I mean, that didn't seem like it was your first job as a...
No, my first job, I mean, I had a lot of them, man, when I was a kid. But in college, let's go from there. I was a chimney sweep.
No shit.
No lie. And my buddy who died 9/11, Joe Muscali, had a place on 13th Avenue. And on the weekends, I would work, and we would clean chimneys. I did it for, 2-3 years on the weekends. And you go clean the boiler, clean the thing, go in the houses. It was pretty.
So you definitely weren't fat.
You get
then.
some crappy.
Yeah.
You get some crappy houses, and then you get some beautiful apartments in Manhattan. You're going, oh my God, And it was a good job, good money.
Yeah.
At the time, it was cash, and
you were playing ball at the time, so it was kind of like
I was in college.
It's an athletic job too.
It was good. Yeah, but it was good. That was like my first, and we made money.
Yeah.
I mean, but I worked in a fish market. I worked in the parks department,
fish market,
with kids and all kinds of stuff.
Man.
You did it all.
Yeah, well, I mean that was. Listen, when I moved to Vegas after college, I delivered pizza for the first year. I was making more money than my friends that were blackjack dealers.
Yeah.
What made you go to Vegas?
I was here. we had 5 kids. We lived in a little apartment in Brooklyn, no money. I grew up on welfare. Didn't get along with my father so well. Finished school. Friends of mine moved out there, and I just followed them.
Yeah.
And it was the best thing that I had ever did. I was done here. I wanted to see what was going on.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I didn't go to college. I didn't go away, which I should have, and I wish I could have. But I went to Brooklyn, which was great. But living at home with your parents while you're in college. So. So then we went to Vegas, and that was a whole new world. I mean, things I've never seen before. It's not the Vegas of today, I mean, I moved there in 1979, 80. You weren't even born yet.
No.
Yeah.
You guys, right? How old are you?
I'm same age as him, 24.
But it was great. I caught the tail end of when it was just that small town. You kind of knew everybody, and
What brought you? Were you just kind of like, I need to change, or was there a specific thing?
No. I mean, I finished playing ball in school. I wanted to graduate. I was very big with getting my degree.
Yeah.
So I made sure that I went to Vegas and came back and finished up.
Yeah.
Got my degree. 3 weeks later, a buddy of mine, we got in a car, and I stayed there basically for 20 years until I came back here to do The Sopranos.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So
my wife and kids were born in Vegas.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So never, even as when you got into acting, there was never a party that wanted to go to California.
No, I don't. I didn't like California. I own a house there now, but I never liked L.A. L.A.'s not my scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I have a lot of friends there. It's beautiful. Just not my thing of the show business 24 hours a day.
Yeah, it really is interesting. Even like, especially now with the Ubers and the Lyfts, everyone that you're dealing with is in show business.
Yeah, well, but it's like if you move
kinda
to Anaheim, everybody has attached to Disneyland.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
Yeah.
Either their father, their brother, their
Right.
cousin. Everybody works at Disneyland. So that's the main industry there. And that's what you have, I know a lot of comics because I work with them, and I would go to L.A. a lot, especially when I first started acting.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't hate it. I never had a bad experience, but, I did a show there for 5 years, and I commuted.
Yeah.
I flew out every 3
What
or
show
4
taped
times
out
a month.
there?
Secret Life of the American Teenager.
That's what you do with Molly Ringwald,
With
right?
Molly Ringwald and Shailene Woodley, who's now a big star.
Yeah.
But I did that for 5 years, and I commuted.
Yeah.
I flew out 3 or 4 times a month, did my stuff, 2-3 days, come back.
Wow.
That's pretty cool.
I didn't want to. I just didn't want to live there. My wife does not like it there.
Yeah, that's fair.
But now I have a house down about an hour and a half south of there.
Do you go there a lot or not really?
I'm working, but when I'm
Yeah.
not working, I do.
Yeah.
That's
So now Blue Bloods, that's your current show. That's shoots in New York.
I shoot in New York.
Cool.
I've been on there 5 years. I've done 67 episodes now or something, 66. More episodes of Blue Bloods than I have Sopranos. But that shoots here, so here from basically July to April.
Yeah.
That's perfect. How did you weren't a stand-up, right?
No.
Have you ever done stand-up?
No.
But you have so many close ties to stand-up. It's like when I was doing some research online, I mean, because you also do the Garden of Laughs. I know that.
Yeah, I host that.
You host that. Like, what was the initial draw to comedy?
I got a job. So I was living in Vegas, delivering pizza. Then I became a bouncer. Paul Anka, a guy that you probably don't know.
What was his big song? Shoulders, head on the shoulder, something like that?
Put my head on, put your head on my shoulders.
My
No, but
grandfather
big.
loved Paul
He wrote
Anka.
the theme to the Tonight Show. Big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Paul Anka is a legendary guy. So I worked for him as a bouncer for a year and a half. Then I worked at another nightclub. I did that. You wear the tuxedo, the whole thing, and I did very well. And I met a lot of people there.
Yeah.
A lot of big people everywhere. Everyone from the owners of hotels to the Joe Pesci character in Goodfellas.
Right.
In Casino.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tony Spilaccio was a friend of mine. The whole gamut. And I would work at 11 at night to 7 in the morning, or 1 at night to 9 in the morning.
Wow.
And I would leave the place at 8 a.m. packed,
Yeah.
dancing like it's
That's crazy.
10 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a whole. For a number of years, I was all turned around. You get home at 7, 8 in the morning, or you go out,
Right.
Then you go out to like after hours places. You come home 2 o'clock in the afternoon. You go home, you sleep, you eat breakfast at 9, and then you go to work
Wow.
at 1 o'clock.
That was before everyone was so quick to call you an alcoholic.
You know,
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I did that. You know, you did that for years, but it's the same thing. People work 9 to 5. They go to happy hour.
Yeah.
So now you're just working the other 9 to 5.
Right. There's a whole different.
It's a whole different.
So that was
world
half of
and
the
Met Comics.
a
population
whole
doing
different underground of crap.
Yeah.
You know, the Vegas crap, the underbelly. You know.
And comics tend to exist well in those scenarios.
Yeah, right.
The underbelly.
Yeah,
You know,
thrives.
back then, the only let me finish. So I'm in Vegas. I'm working as a bouncer. I'm tired of that. I moved to Hawaii. I get a job in Hawaii. I moved there for about a year. So I'm living in Hawaii. I come back. This guy that I met is a boss at the Riviera Hotel. They were opening up an improv.
Yeah.
So I interviewed for the job. Paid nothing. $15,000 a year. Nothing. This is 1986.
Right.
You know, I get the job. I go in. Bud Freeman. You know.
Yeah.
You ever meet Bud?
Never met Bud,
Okay.
no. Just
So you
stories.
meet Bud, the legendary guy, and I didn't know nothing about comedy. I knew nothing about this stuff. And you know, we put the showroom together. I didn't work for him. I worked for the hotel, but
Yeah.
you know, I set up the improv. And at first it sucked.
Yeah.
Then the Comedy Store opened down the Dunes, and that was big. They were doing well. They would have 5 headliners. I mean, on one show you would have Kinnison and Dice Clay and George Miller and August Hamilton and
Argus, still around in LA.
Damon Wayans. You would have all these guys on one show. Played a big show, and we had a little club. Took a while, about 6 months, maybe a little less, and then the show kicked off.
Yeah.
It was 3 shows a night, 7 nights a week,
Oh, man.
4 comics. The MC got 500, 21 shows.
Oh.
You got a room, and food in the employee cafeteria.
Wow.
That was the gig.
Yeah.
And then 2 middle acts, about 800 apiece, and then the headliner, depending, you know,
Yeah.
2,500, 3,000.
Most
Jeez.
middles on the road now make 50 a show.
Yeah.
That's where the price is
It's
for middles
terrible,
now.
Yeah. But this is, you know, the comedy
That was the
boom.
heyday.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right,
that was
that's
the
The
boom.
comedy boom. So, you know, Bud would tell them if you don't work, because he owned that club.
Yeah.
The other improvs, which were just starting, they had one in San Diego, San Francisco. He would say, if you work this, I'll give you those other dates.
Yeah.
Right.
So, you know, because he owned this one. The other ones he just booked. So I did that. I got to know a lot of comics. And then they had 2 other shows, and I started running everything. And I got to know, I mean, Ellen DeGeneres, Rosie O'Donnell, Spade, Drew Carey. I mean, could go on and on. Everybody, you know, everybody worked the club. Bill Maher, Richard Belzer. Every comic you could think of worked the improv in Vegas.
So you were that was your days
That
were
was
with
my
these
thing.
people.
I mean, I wasn't booking it. I would book the MCs. It was Bud's gig, but I ran the whole thing.
Was there an inkling of show business in your head at that time?
No. I didn't like show business.
No.
I never liked show business.
Yeah.
And I was deathly afraid, like if the MC didn't make it back in time, you know, to go close the show for whatever reason, he was fucking around downstairs. Can you curse on this show?
Yeah,
Please.
And he, I'm not kidding you, deathly afraid to go up there and say, all right, good night, folks.
Yeah. Right.
I would send somebody
Yeah.
else. So did that for a long time. Got to know a lot of the comics. You know, like I said, the whole gamut. Those 80s acts.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Chris Rock. You know, I mean, guys that are still around, obviously, but, you know, guys that disappeared.
Yeah, a
You
lot
know,
of those guys because they made too much
disappeared.
money at that time.
Well, I mean, at the time, it was a real job. I mean, some guys didn't have an apartment. They were on the road constantly,
Right.
and you could actually make a living. You know,
Yeah.
you could
Yeah.
actually
There's a
make
you
real
ever work
money.
with Tom Rhodes there? He was an old
Yeah,
friend.
yeah.
Tom still lives on the road. He puts his stuff in
Yeah.
a storage unit and spends his life on the road.
That's not a
mostly.
stage name, is it?
No, it's just
Because he's like
yeah.
constantly
That's
on the
funny.
road.
That's funny.
Yeah,
Tom
on
Rhodes
the
worked for
roads.
me there. So, you know, Rich Hall. I mean, I could go on and on. But then, so as the years went on, you know, I opened up a little agency, and I booked a club in Houston, and I booked a club in Huntington Beach. So I started thinking about the future.
Yeah.
Because this ain't going to last forever. I was making money. I was a maitre d', so I was making money in tips. It was an incredible job.
Yeah.
Incredible. You could set your clock to it. I was making $300-400 a night.
Yeah.
Seating people in the 3 shows, So it was a really good job. It wasn't. I'm just not fucking around with, comics, But some of them I became friends with, good friends, and. So I would go to L.A. and then Bruce Baum. Do you know Bruce Baum? Baby Man?
No.
Been around forever.
Yeah.
Been around since the 70s. He was doing some show, and he said, hey, I got this show for Fox, and I'm doing these 5-minute little film pieces. I wrote a piece for you. Would you do it? And I said, okay. And I flew to L.A. Like I said, I was making a shitload of money. It wasn't for the money.
Yeah.
And we shot it on the golf course. There was a few other comics in it. And they'd aired on Fox on Sunday night. It was called Sunday Night Comics.
Yeah.
Wow.
Lenny Clark used to.
Yeah.
Lenny Clark from Boston.
Yeah, of course.
Lenny used to host it, and they would have these film pieces. Stephen Wright would do one. A bunch of guys.
So it's like little sketches.
Sketches.
That's amazing.
Robert Schimmel. You heard of Robert
Yeah.
Schimmel?
Of
So
course.
all these 80s guys. And I'm not kidding it. I know it sounds like a cliche, but I was flying home. I kind of got the bug.
Yeah.
I said, that was a lot of fun. I never even read a script before.
Yeah.
I said, that was a lot of fun. And then the casting lady saw me, and she put me in Lenny Clark, one of those things. And then I started getting little shit.
It's amazing how that bug works.
I started getting little stuff. I kept my job because, like I said, I was making a lot of money. Now I'm starting to have kids. I got married. And I was pursuing it, but not, like half-ass pursuing it, like a hobby.
Right.
It was fun. If I got something came into Vegas, Chicago Hope, I auditioned, I got that. Listen, my rent wasn't due. So I didn't have the pressure of, oh, my God, if I don't go
Right,
in
exactly.
there,
You said
And,
you were you were nervous to go up at the end of shows, like if you had to say something on
Then
stage.
I was nervous.
But like in
wreck.
auditions, there was never nerves for you?
No, it
Because
just
I'm the
kinda
opposite. You can put me on stage in front of anyone.
Yeah.
When you put me in an audition room, I
Yeah.
lose my mind. I've said some of the stupidest shit in my life to
It
casting
just kind of
directors.
turned around. I don't know why or what. And, so then I started, getting bit shit, little, 2 lines. Then I was going to L.A. I had an agent was kind of helping me, hip pocketing me. And then I took over the comedy club.
Yeah.
We got rid of Bud Freeman, who was making all the money,
Right.
and the comics weren't.
Yeah.
And I knew what they were making. I'm talking an enormous amount of money, not a little bit.
Yeah.
Right.
Not like, you know what I mean?
The margin
So I
was way
raised the
off.
prices, gave the guys more money. I mean, still was a comedy club, but
Yeah.
I was paying guys $4,000, $1,200, $1,500 to middle.
Yeah.
$1,500,
Like actual livable money.
$1,500 to come into Vegas. Then we cut it to 2 shows a night. $1,500 with room and food. Not bad.
Not bad.
Not bad. And then, like I said, then I booked who I wanted, and everybody came through from Dom Herrera. I helped Doug Stanhope.
Oh, really?
Started out with
Oh,
me at the
yeah.
beginning, kind of. Doug was from Vegas.
I just read his new book that he put out. It's incredible. It's called
yeah.
a Rememboir, a 2 Rememboir.
Yeah. Doug was there. He was working locally, and he was good. He was good even back then, and so Joe Rogan worked for me.
Yeah.
Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
So you really, at that point, you were working with every comic, basically.
Just about every kind, all these guys. So then I became a boss there. And then we had a 1,000-seat room.
Oh, wow.
And then I said, I know these comics better than anyone. Let's start doing these bigger shows. And this is 95.
Right.
And, man, I did, George Wallace and Dennis Leary and Gilbert Godfrey.
Who was your favorite to work with? If you is there one person you remember seeing on stage you're like, this
David
is incredible?
Wayne's is a great act. He called me out of nowhere. He said, I'm in town. I'm looking for a gig. It was literally 2 weeks before. I said, we'll put you in the big room during the week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Sold out all 3.
All 3.
Just like that.
And that was the 1,000-seater?
1,000-seater.
Ooh, 3,000.
So we had a lot of guys their first shot. Ray Romano, Kevin James.
Wow.
George Lopez.
Yeah.
Their first shot in the big room. David Spade. Rob Schneider. Jeff Dunham.
Jeff Dunham.
Shit. I mean, there's so many I can't even think. I would do shows. Bobby Slayton, Robert Schimmel, and and I owed this D.L. Hughley.
Yeah.
Keenan Wayne's, David Allen Greer.
But Damon was the one that you remember just being like, that was great.
For me.
Yeah.
For me. My taste. But
Yeah, I mean, that's the cool thing about comedy.
Used to work a lot.
Yeah.
From Howard Stern.
Yeah.
Jackie would come out for the weekend. The show was big there then on regular radio, and he would come out on a Friday, do a show Friday night, show Saturday, pack him in. So I was doing this thing, and I knew I would lose them because the other hotels had a lot more money.
Yeah.
So I would just say, please, just give me one more shot.
Yeah.
You know, you could come and taking a shot with you, and almost everyone did it.
Yeah.
Came back a second time, and then the Mirage snatched them up, the MGM snatched them up. Then comedy clubs started. People realized it was, and I don't want to say cheap, like an inexpensive way of entertainment. I mean, you know, what do you need? You know, a fucking bar stool, a microphone, a light.
Yeah.
And now I think now there's more clubs there than ever.
Yeah, they went through a little quiet period in Vegas, but Kimmel just opened his club there, and The Cellar opened a club there.
You got Brad Garrett's got his club, and the Laugh Factory.
It's kind of interesting.
So yeah,
to
I
see
was
a
there at
scene
the beginning
again.
with all that, you know, and then I left in 2000. You know, I started work. You know, like I said, I was dabbling in the work. I didn't care.
Yeah.
Not not that I don't care. I want to do the best I can when
Right.
I went in, but like I said, my rent's not due.
Yeah.
My career, I had my career. You know, I had a big house. And I was fine, and I came here for a wedding. You Fink, a comic.
You think? Okay.
He got married. He was at my wedding 10 years early. I said, if and when the day comes, I will be at your wedding. So I flew out here.
If.
I flew out here, and I auditioned for The Sopranos. That's how I got on the show.
So you had an agent and everything at this point?
You know,
or?
I had a guy. I didn't have an agent. I had a guy who was a mid-size agent, a friend of mine. And he would come to Vegas. He was a degenerate gambler. He was a sloppy pig drunk. He was an English guy.
Yeah.
And we were friends. And he would come, and I would give him a room, and we would hang for the weekend. A lot of agents.
Yeah.
That's how I got a lot of these acts.
Right.
A lot of agents would come up, and the Riv was a fun spot. You had 4 shows. You had the lounge acts. I was booking. It was like a $2 million budget. You know?
That's amazing.
So there was like, it wasn't the place to be, but it was a good spot. We did a lot of stuff, and guys would come out. And so when I got serious about it, about 6 months before The Sopranos, I auditioned in 1999. It was June of 99, and I told him, I had a talk with him in January. I said, listen, I'm going to try to do this. I had made up my mind. I wanted it out of the hotel. But I had 2 kids. Like I said, I'm making a lot of money. You know, Vegas, you could live like a king on. It ain't here.
Right.
You could live, even now it's very inexpensive, relatively. So
especially compared to where we are.
Absolutely. So I said, listen, I'm going to do this one way or another. If you're not going to help me, I'm going to get somebody to help me. And he said, no, I'll help you. And they started sending me out, and I would drive. Some comics would pick me up in L.A. George Miller, George Miller from Letterman, look him up.
Yeah.
Kip Adada, who just passed away. These guys, I would pay them extra.
Yeah.
I would pay them extra at the club. I would say, listen, pick me up. I got a couple of auditions. Drop me back off at the airport. I'll give you an extra $300 next time you work. So I would do that a lot.
To a comic, that's music to their ears.
Yeah. So a handful of guys would help me and take me to the audition, and I would go in. They would set up maybe 2, and I was starting to get it. Get stuff.
Yeah.
Couple lines. That's all. And that's how it rolled, Got lucky, It's a lot of luck involved. Anyone tells you that is any different, it's bullshit.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you got The Sopranos, that's kind of when you were like, this is going to be my full-time thing.
Well, no, not really, because they didn't guarantee me anything. They said you're going to be a recurring character, but there was no money. They wouldn't fly me.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't put me up.
Right.
And my agent, this guy, said, don't take it. Don't take it. I said, what do you mean? Don't take it, blah, blah, blah. And The Sopranos wasn't what it became.
Yeah.
It was just after the first season.
Well,
so it wasn't exploded yet,
Yeah. Well, you were I've watched the show twice. It's one of my favorite shows. But were you in the pilot? You were,
No.
right? No, you weren't.
I came on the second episode of the second season.
Okay.
So it wasn't huge yet. And they weren't. I think they were paying me $3,500 an episode, maybe not even.
Wow.
And I had to put myself up and fly myself. And I took a shot, and it cost me. I joke, but seriously, it cost me $24,000, and I think I made $22,000.
Really?
That first season.
Yeah.
Damn.
I stayed at people's houses. I stayed in hotels. I would come here, and then they would delay. They would switch days, and I was stuck.
Yeah.
Hotel was pretty good to me. I had 6 weeks vacation.
Part of me feels like it's weird to say as a comic, I guess, the twist in mind, but to me, that's what makes kind of things go right. Is that weird gestation period of uncertainty?
Maybe. I don't know, man. Listen, I would prefer not to have the uncertainty.
Fair.
And,
Especially with two
one thing
kids.
that I knew,
with
I
two
didn't want to
kids.
be a struggling actor.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to play that.
Yeah.
So, like, even early on, they made me a series regular. And I had started working. After the first, I did 6 episodes the first season. And then I got a big movie after that, which was more money than I would ever imagine.
What movie was that?
A C-Spot Run.
C-Spot Run.
I would never imagine in a million years when they told me the money, I would have did it for a fraction.
Right.
And I went to Vancouver for 2 months, and so things were rolling pretty good. And then I moved my family back here, but I wasn't going to be a struggling actor. And to this day, when it's over, it's over.
Yeah.
I'm done. I'll see you.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna, piddle around and make a fool of myself.
My parents have a friend from Brooklyn who's still trying to, Anthony Bangano?
Yeah, he's a good guy.
Yeah.
I like
My
him.
parents grew up with him, and he was just in that movie Green Book with Sebastian.
Yeah.
He had a bit role as the
I like
security guard.
Anthony. He's
Yeah.
out there banging away. I
Yeah,
like
he's.
him.
I always think of him when I think of actors because I've always known him because he grew up with my parents. So his name's always been like, oh, there's Mangano. He was in a commercial at a time, like a Chase commercial.
He
Yeah.
works. He
Yeah.
works. But hey, listen, it's hard, man.
Oh, it's so hard.
and it's hard to make a living.
I've bombed every acting audition I've ever gone in.
First of all, what you need to do is, do you work with a coach?
No.
Well, that's the problem.
Yeah, that's the
So
huge
you need to
problem.
work with somebody, because I still do to this day.
Still where I have
And
a
Jim
coach.
Gandolfini worked till the end
with a coach.
with someone.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So
That's what I was gonna ask. Did you take classes before any of
I
this?
didn't. I didn't even have headshots.
Yeah.
I had the job first, and I got the headshots later. No lie.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And
How
then
often
I
does that
started
happen?
taking some classes before the audition. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not classes. One-on-one.
One-on-one,
coach.
sure.
I'm not a class guy.
Yeah.
So the guy would come up, believe it or not, come up to my office. He would come up to my office at the hotel. I would shut the door.
That's great.
And we were giving. He was a local casting director, Ray Favero. Beautiful guy. He's very sick now, and he was a huge help to me at the beginning. He worked on my audition when I got the call back and I went back. He helped me a lot. And to this day, I'm doing Blue Bloods. She comes over once or twice an episode.
Yeah.
Runs lines with me. We talk. You
That's
need
amazing.
class.
Yeah.
You're not a natural. I don't
Oh,
want to
no,
hear
not at
any of
all.
that. I don't need it. And that'll help you. The more prepared you are,
Yeah.
the less nervous you'll be in the audition.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know
Because
what it is about just two people. You give me 1,000. It's much
You
easier.
could just listen. You could only control what you could control.
Yeah.
You walk into an audition, you're too fat, you're too skinny,
Right.
you're too this, you're too that, you look too much like the lead,
Yep.
you know. There's a million things. But if you're prepared, you did your homework. You go in there, you say, I don't know if I'm going to get the job, but I just want to do what I want to do in there.
Yeah.
And even the first Soprano audition, listen, I bombed a year ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I went in. I couldn't run to the elevator fast enough. So that still happens.
Right.
I
I had-
couldn't run fast enough. I mean, that still happens. But,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you got to be prepared, and a lot of people don't prepare. And a
Yeah.
lot of people, you're saying you get nervous. Well, you need to find someone, and you got to work on that.
Yeah.
One time I walked in, the role I was reading for, it was called Big Tiny. And I said that I'm Big Tiny reading for the role of Dan LaMorte. And I was so embarrassed and mortified. I just wanted to run
Yeah.
out of the room. Didn't even get my name right.
Yeah, my coach always says, like, all you can do is go in and give them what you've got. And if they don't want it, I mean, there's no.
No, for sure. I mean, you want to do a good job. Listen, I just went on tape for something yesterday.
Yeah.
I still have to audition at times.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of times I won't, and then I'll just pass. I mean, I've got a whole lot of TV.
Right.
If you just want me to play kind of the same thing, I'm not gonna, I have 300-400 hours of TV,
Right.
But you got to be prepared, and no one is just, they go, he's a natural. He's a natural. I don't need lessons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you need lessons, but you need to be prepared. Know what you're going to do in there. Have it on your mind. This is what I'm going to do, because that's where the luck's going to come in.
Right.
Yeah.
That's where you're going to go. Yeah, I got lucky. Listen, I wasn't even going to go to this audition today. Luckily, I went and I got the role, and this was fantastic. What luck.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you weren't prepared, you wouldn't have got the job.
Right.
Yeah. And then there's no chance of the luck because you're unprepared.
Do you go in? I'm auditioning for stuff, and it's frustrating because it's like, do you go in giving them what you think they want, or you just go in kind of like, here's what I think is.
You got to go in and you got to make a choice.
Yeah.
Before you're in that room, you got to make a choice.
Right.
And so you go in, and this is how I see this guy.
Right.
And if they may go, all right, thanks, next. Or they may go, this guy's not as angry. This guy's...
Right.
And you need, and that's a big thing,
Yeah.
to make the adjustment. They want to see that you're making that
Yeah.
adjustment. If you can't, they're not hiring.
Yeah. I'll never forget, I went in, it was for a voiceover audition, and I was like, I don't know what they want. And then I went in an audition, and then I saw the person going in after me was a British girl. I was like, oh, they don't know what they want, Like,
Most of the time, they don't.
yeah.
Most of the time, they don't know until they see it.
Yeah.
Sometimes I do believe, and I've talked to directors and casting people, and, sometimes as soon as you walk in their head, they're going, that's the guy.
Yeah.
That's what I had in mind when I wrote this.
Yeah.
Now, if he could only act.
Yeah. I saw you in it was a pilot. I don't know if they ended up making it into a web series in Casting. Do you remember the show Casting? Yeah, I'm good friends with the woman who made it, Nina.
Nina's great.
Yeah, she's fantastic.
She's one of my closest friends.
Yeah, Nina and Lawton are two people who have helped me tremendously. But it's it's funny to see their perspective of just kind of what they have to go through, because I imagine it's it's accurate what.
Oh, absolutely.
That
was that's really good what they did.
Yeah.
Judy Gold and
it was
Richard
super
Kind,
super funny.
Janine Garofalo.
Right, they were going. We need a
that was a lot of fun. Yeah. But you got to be prepared. That's the only advice. I mean, there's no magic thing. And the stuff about, well, I know someone. Listen to me. I don't give a shit if your father owns the Yankees.
Right.
You got to hit the curveball.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you get in that room, you got to deliver the goods.
Yeah.
End of story. Maybe your connection might have got you into the room, but nobody's giving up the role as a favor unless it's, 2 lines.
Right.
Or 2 words.
Right.
Nobody's giving it to you. So you got to go in and compete, and it sucks.
Yeah.
The whole
Yeah.
thing sucks.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a tough business. It's a great business, but and you meet some great people.
Did it take you a while to get used to from switching over from being on kind of the industry side of things for a second?
I think it's helped me because I'm smarter than business-wise than your average.
Oh, for sure. I mean, how old are you when this
guy,
that
actor.
first
I've
role?
I've done listen, well, not the first role. I started in my early. I started about 33, 34.
Cool.
Getting a little bitch shit here
Yeah.
and there. And then I've been making a living 20 years. Okay, 20 years I'm actually making a living as an actor. What was the question again?
I was just asking. I asked how old you were at that first role.
At that time when I got on the Sopranos, I think I was 41.
Yeah.
41 years old, 2 kids.
Yeah.
I took a shot. Listen, my wife, she could have said, "What are you, out of your mind?
Yeah.
Look at this life we live." Well,
Right.
I was looking. Are you out of your mind? We could. What are you doing? Why? Fuck up the apple cart here. But she was all for it. She said, "Let's go. I'm in."
I love that.
And then what's funny is, so I'm at the hotel. I give my notice in 2000. So I was there 14 years, and I say, to my boss, I said, I could still book the club.
Yeah.
So they hired me as a consultant for 10 years.
No shit.
So all them years on The Sopranos, I was still booking.
Oh, that's great.
Chris Rock said to me, "You're still fucking around with that?" I went, "Hey, man, it's easy money."
Yeah, right.
And I get to, and I'm not lying about this. I got to hire my friends.
Yeah.
People that needed it, guys that weren't working much. Because then the money came down and Vegas kind of hit the shit a little bit. And these guys weren't working at all. And I was still able to, some of these older guys, I was still able, Johnny Dark and Kip Adada and a whole slew of them that no one was hiring.
And you have to get back
they still worked in Vegas, you know. It still worked for them, you know.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
And as far as the stand-up, I've never tried to do stand-up.
But you host the show at
I've
Madison
hosted.
Square
I
Garden.
could do that. I've hosted shit. I could do a monologue.
That's a yearly show?
Stuff like that. It's every other year.
Every other year.
But I was a correspondent for Leno.
Okay.
I did 40 episodes of Leno. I was a man on the street.
Yeah.
And I used to say, you know, I could do that. You know, I would watch and I would go, you know, I think I could fucking do that.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just saying this to myself. And so I went on in 2002, I think it was. I had a book out, and I went on as a guest on the panel. And he said, hey, you know, why don't you do something, afterwards? Why don't you? So a year goes by, and I don't know why. I guess I was busy, and I said, you know what? I'm going to try to do it. So we tracked it down, the head writer.
Yeah.
Who was a comic, Jack Cohen, and Joe Medeiros, who was the main head writer. Jack used to do the monologue, but I know him from the old days, and they put me together, and Joe who was a great guy, head writer, Tonight Show, 21 years, funniest fucking guy.
Yeah.
Funniest guy. If I call him when I'm hosting something, I said, Joe, I need 20 jokes on reality TV. Like a machine.
Yeah, it doesn't even
Guy's
take
a machine.
Yeah.
So he called me. He never saw The Sopranos. He said, hey, let's try one. Come out to California. So they flew me, you know.
Yeah.
And I did something, and then we just kept on doing them, man. And I did I think I was a guest on Leno 3 times, you know, in the chair. And then like 37 man on the streets.
Wow.
Just
37.
fucking around. And he was with me the whole time, Joe. And, you know, it was not scripted, but, you know, on the spot kind of stuff.
Right.
He would be off camera to my side, and I would hit the streets, and we did all kinds of. We did a segment called Steve the Judgmental Bastard. You should look it up. They're really funny.
Yeah.
And
One
Joe
interview
was a machine,
oh,
a joke writer machine.
Yeah. I love the guys who just pump out jokes. It's the late night guys, the guys who specialize in monologue. You could just send them a topic, and they'll have a sheet of jokes.
It really is ridiculous.
You know, the thing about are you a stand-up?
Yeah.
So the thing about stand-up, which a lot of people, it's a very underrated art form. It's really hard.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Really hard, and a lot of comics can't act.
I agree. Yeah.
They can't act. It's just 2 different muscles.
Right.
You know. But you can't just go up and say, you know what, I'm going to start doing stand-up now. You know, and a lot of guys do this.
Yeah.
Asswipe Jeremy Piven.
Oh God, yeah.
He's
Not a
he's
fan
doing
of that.
stand-up now. And you don't just become a stand-up. I don't say, you know what, guys, book me next weekend and I'm a stand-up. It's not going to work.
Yeah, it's a little bit. It's always frustrating as someone who, you know, as a stand-up when you see someone who's kind of fallen off and they're like, all right, I'm going to, what your dream is, I'm falling off to.
Yeah, but
you know
it's not even about you. It's just about you can't possibly be good. It takes 10 years to get, it'll take 10 years to get your voice. I mean, you can't possibly be good at it. It's almost like you're acting as a stand-up.
Yeah.
The stuff that I've done, I read off a prompter. The stuff, I mean, I've hosted it 3 years in a row. It's every other year.
And it's at the Garden, right?
It's at the Garden, 5,500 people. Joe writes my jokes.
Yeah.
I tell him the topics. Then we'll go over and I'll tweak stuff and I'll say that doesn't sound like me, whatever. We've done it so many times. And I have it.
So the first time you're telling those to an audience is when you're at the Garden.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of the guys, when they do like their SNL monologue, they'll come down to the cellar and they'll run it on stage.
Yeah,
just
no,
to
no,
see.
no.
So you would
no,
just
no.
go up the first
and
time.
I've
you're telling
hosted
it.
a ton of stuff similar. And I hosted Gotham.
Okay, yeah.
I hosted that TV show, Gotham
I remember,
Live.
yeah, I remember.
That was my first ever TV credit.
And it was all in the prompter.
Yeah.
So all in the prompter. I wasn't trying to fake it like I'm a stand-up. It was all in the prompter, you know.
I wanted to ask you about one interview that it's one of my favorite interview shows online, and I don't know if it was a real. Was your interview with Eric Andre? How serious is that show?
1,000% real.
So what his antics are always real on that show. They were.
I didn't speak to Eric Andre before or after?
So you had no idea he was going to do that stuff.
Still haven't spoken to
No,
him.
but I had seen the show.
Yeah.
So I knew what I was getting into. Believe it or not, I don't know why, but I needed to go to L.A.
Yeah.
And they flew me first class and paid me and put me up for 2 days. So that was kind of a big incentive. I said, well, I'll get this show. I'll do the show, and then I get a free ride because I think I had to do something. I forget what. And I saw the show, so I knew what the fuck he was up to, kind of. But no, I knew nothing.
Have you ever
I
seen
knew Hannibal. I know Hannibal a little bit.
Yeah.
I had met Hannibal a few times. He smelled like a billy goat, Eric Andre.
Yeah.
He smelled so bad.
He wouldn't
He
shower on
wasn't
purpose.
showering.
He didn't shower so bad.
And he wouldn't wash the suit to him.
The room, there was no band in the room.
Right.
He does all the band at the end. It was 100 degrees in there, and I sweat all the time.
Yeah.
It was disgusting. And no, I didn't get really mad at him. He was starting to annoy me.
Yeah.
But the interview was 45 minutes. You saw 3 minutes.
Yeah,
Right.
I always heard that he would do extremely long interviews and then cut them into 3 minutes for the show.
3
Did you ever see the
minutes.
one he did with Jillian Michaels from The Biggest Loser?
No. She got mad?
Yeah, he's interviewing her at the desk, and then Hannibal's behind them. And then Eric breaks the desk and flips it over, and underneath the desk are 3 little people dressed as Hannibal, Jillian, and Eric doing the interview under his desk. And her mind looked like it melted for a second. She was
But,
like,
you got to know what you're getting. I mean, I saw what you were getting into.
Yeah.
I mean, he did something with someone where he let rats go on their feet.
Yeah.
That would have been bad.
He zapped Jack Black. He put
if
him
he
up
would
to
have did
electric
that
thing.
with the rats for me, we would have had a problem.
Right.
Yeah.
You can't really get mad if you punch him in the face. I mean, he's the sort. His whole show is rooted
But
around.
you kind of, I looked at some shows, so I knew,
Yeah.
that it wasn't,
Okay,
but when I got in there at 9 a.m, they had a full bar set up, full. Weed all over the place. Smelled like I'm not a weed guy.
Oh, okay.
And I know you
I'm
are.
exclusively a weed
But
guy.
you know what? You don't need to put it out there so much. I've seen some of your tweets. You don't need to.
Why?
You don't need to.
It works.
I don't know. Is it working?
It does, yeah. It makes money, weed.
Sometimes I think you need to keep your personal stuff. You don't need to put it all out there.
There was a time where that was true, but now comedy is so personal.
That's just my opinion, man. What do I know? You guys are young. I'm an old man on the way out.
It's more like
I don't need to tell them everything. There was a guy, Al LaBelle. You know Al LaBelle?
Yeah.
Al LaBelle went way above to the point where the audience was uncomfortable, telling them insane stories, getting naked on stage. He worked for me a lot of times.
That's your next move. You should do that.
He got naked on stage, and you know what? Al LaBelle barely makes a living.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I would not get naked on stage.
Don't count it out. Do you find that you're drawn to what? I guess as an actor, it doesn't really matter. But are you drawn to? Do you prefer roles that are more like comical or more serious?
Listen, I like doing a 1-hour drama. I've done a bunch of sitcoms. I don't think I'm so good at it.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm very good at. The one thing about sitcom, you go in on Monday, you read the script. They do the read-through, and it's hilarious. Everybody's laughing. This is the funniest thing. This is going to be a great week. This is great.
Yeah.
And then, by Monday afternoon, they're giving you new pages.
Yeah.
And then Tuesday, you do it for the network, and there's more changes.
Yeah.
And then Wednesday. And then by the time you're going to shoot on Friday, at 2 in, they slip new pages under your door. And I have a heart.
So
not
far
for
less,
you.
far less rewrites with drama.
Yeah. They'll make some changes, but I like the 1-hour drama. All 3 shows were, but Blue Bloods has a little comedy in it, as did Secret Life, but and Sopranos for sure.
Yeah,
I was going to say
ton of comedy.
That was a real chance to show your chops. Is like Bobby Bacala had a lot of funny lines, but also a lot of he was very tragic.
I like that. The setup punchline. I don't think I'm very good. That's why. And I'm sure the lines, a live audience. And I think I did George Lopez show. I did Joey, the French.
Right.
I did Damon Wayne's show. I've done quite, done quite a bit. I've done 10, a dozen,
Yeah.
Why not? Was there ever a period of time of this? Because I knew they always were getting characters off. Was there ever a period of time you knew you were good as a regular for like a few seasons?
No.
It was always uncertain?
Always.
I read one interview where you said that when you were written off, he actually came to your house to tell you.
Yeah.
And you said it felt like a real hit.
I was living down in Battery Park down the other end, and he came to my house. I got a call. Holford David, this is a guy you don't talk to. This is the boss.
Yeah. And he was the creator of The Sopranos, right? He was the creator of The Sopranos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, I picked up the phone. He said, well, where are you? I said, I'm at my apartment. I'm on my way there. Well, then I kind of had an idea.
Yeah.
But, we were almost finished, you
Right.
know. So it didn't matter at that point. It was like the next to last episode. You're getting paid.
Yeah.
If I would have got killed off in the second season or the third, I would have felt terrible.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. Because not only were you out of work, you're out of the, these were my friends. You know?
And a lot of people consider your character arc to be like the one that they love the most of the show.
Because I started out with nothing, and no one ever told me anything about it.
Yeah.
No one ever told me. Once again, luck involved. I mean, I guess, And
it's interesting because it was one of your first roles, and you kind of got to grow with the role.
One of the main role.
Yeah, and you got to grow with it, kind of.
Yeah, I've gotten. It was on the job training for sure.
Yeah.
That was my. I wasn't completely. I had worked. I knew how to hit your mark and where the cameras go. I did a lot of crappy stuff. Believe me, to learn that stuff, which is, especially now. And I say, you say, well, that was valuable then. It was shit.
Yeah.
Dressing in the back of a truck and, and shooting, no money and shit. And I did not a ton of it, but enough of it.
Yeah.
And you learn. I mean, I learned. If I would have went into The Sopranos, hit your mark, do anything, I would say, what are they talking about?
Right,
And I've seen that too.
Yeah.
They hire people that are green. Sometimes people get the role, they're green, and they don't know what anything is.
Right.
I remember asking Joe Rogan, because they were having a read-through, and I'd never been to a read-through. And I said, Joe, when you do the read-through, do I go 100%? I mean, I didn't know. And he said about 85. He gave me good advice.
Yeah.
Because you're around a big table.
Yeah.
You walk in. Here's all these people you see on TV. They don't know me from Adam. All my work was in L.A.
Right.
Wow. That's like
I
most
never
intense
worked
first
here.
day of school.
Yeah, right.
You go in and you got a big table of people, and you say your name and your character's name, and then you read the script from front to back.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a little, it's a little fucking unnerving. And then
I would say so.
the first episode, my first scene was with Tony Soprano, Paulie Walnuts, Big Pussy, and Silvio. So you got the main characters and me.
Yeah.
I don't know anybody.
And that's your first scene.
First scene.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
I stayed in a hotel near the Meadowlands.
Yeah.
I had to put myself up. I stayed in a hotel somewhere, got up early. I think I got a ride from the hotel. I forget. 'Cause they didn't give me a ride, nothing. There was no frills, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No ride, no nothing. And you go on the set, and that's your first scene. Once I got through it, they treated me like I was part of the family.
Yeah.
At what season did it click with like the whole dynamic? You guys were like, oh, we're making something special here.
I think that after that first season, the Emmys, they got nominated for 16 Emmys. I think that was it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was big.
Yeah.
And they went out there, they won some Emmy awards. First time a cable show. No cable show had ever been nominated.
That was the first one.
The first time.
Yeah.
So that was big. And then it just got insane, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We do this show in conversation with the Sopranos. And it's myself, Michael Imperioli, and Vinny Pastore. And it's a question and answer. So we have prepared. We have two comics, Joey Cola. You know Joey Cola?
Yeah, Joey, of course.
Joey Cola, Rob McNaughty.
Okay, yeah.
So we use them, and they come out. They do maybe 15 minutes each. And then we show slides. And then we have prepared questions, and Joey's the moderator.
Yeah.
And then we take questions from the audience. And we tell humorous stories in a comedic way. We give you a little peek behind the curtain. And it's all comedy generated, right?
And what's that called?
in comedy and conversation with the Sopranos.
Yeah.
Comedy and conversation.
And so we were in Rochester next week, November 2nd.
Awesome.
But we've been doing a bunch here. But we went to Australia.
Oh.
And we did 7 cities. And it was, they were hanging off the ceiling.
Yeah.
Thousands of people.
Really?
Thousands of people.
It's iconic, man. It really
I mean,
is.
it was.
And it's not going to
like
stop
it's-
with streaming.
Like we were going, I mean, I can't believe this. You know,
Yeah.
the guy got a hold of me, and I'm not a Facebook guy.
Yeah.
The guy got a hold of me on Facebook. He said, "Would you DM me?" I said, "I have no idea what the fuck you're talking about." I said, "Give me your email." So the
Yeah.
guy gave me your email, called me, and we set up this tour. Now, this May, we're going to be 15 cities in
Hell yeah.
UK, Scotland, and Ireland
Comedy and conversation
with the Sopranos. Yeah.
I
Well,
love that so
that's
much.
a good thing. We could promote that end
Yeah.
the show.
You
Yeah.
know,
Plug.
15 cities. Yeah, I mean,
15
which is
cities.
the
And
show
you're getting on
was
tour with friends.
the show was big there. You know, the show was as big there as it was here. It was,
When people stop you, do they call you Steve or Bobby more?
Bobby or
Bobby.
Anthony.
Bobby or Anthony?
Sopranos. I mean, Blue Bloods is a huge show.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Blue Bloods. I had no idea. I never watched it before I was on it. I came in once again to do 1, maybe 2. My manager
Yeah.
said. I did the 2. They gave me 3 more. So on, so on, so on. Now I'm, all produced. I'm in all 22. It's been a great show.
Yeah.
Tom Selleck and Wahlberg is great. Bridget Moynihan. Shoot on the streets of New York. So
Yeah.
I get a lot of that because, you got 10, 12 million people watching that every Friday night.
That's insane.
Sopranos back then, there was only 11 million people at HBO.
Yeah.
Now with all the streaming services, guys your age are watching it. It's
Yeah.
a whole nother generation.
And
you
they're
know.
going to keep
Yeah.
getting as into it as the people
I mean,
back
the
then
show
were.
is off the air 12 years, man.
Wow.
Well, the prequel's coming out though. Do you know anything about that or not really? No.
Not really. I mean, I think some characters you see when they're younger.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But I really don't know. I'm sure it's going to be great. David's great.
Yeah.
David Chase. I mean, he's a legitimate genius, and it's not coming out for a year.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
Can I ask you one last question about The Sopranos, if you don't mind? I remember I was watching a documentary about, I guess it was a New Jersey crime family, and there was a wiretapped conversation between them when The Sopranos came out, and the guy's going, "Is this about us?" And I think it ended up being used against him in court. Was there any, did you guys ever get any, I don't want to say feedback, but did real, mobsters ever?
Guys have approached me, but I don't know if that was true. I don't know either way.
Yeah.
First of all, there was no mob guys around the set.
Yeah, right.
That's all bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they say that there was consultants, maybe some here and there. Certainly when it was stuff in court,
Yeah.
Yeah.
DA stuff and maybe detective stuff. I'm not
Yeah.
quite sure. But there was no mob guy telling you what to do.
Right.
That's funny to think of a mob creative director.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, what do you mean? They had it
For The
on
Godfather,
Casino.
Yeah.
On Casino, Frank Collada,
Yeah.
who murdered I don't know how many people, was hired as a technical advisor.
Well, they had to get it
you know what?
Yeah, right.
They had to get
Who
it
And
knows
right.
better than
I
him?
knew him from the days as a bouncer, and I ran into him. He had disappeared in the witness protection. I ran into him when they were shooting Casino at the Riviera. The hair on my back of my neck stood up.
Yeah.
It was like I saw a ghost.
Yeah.
Yeah, literally, because he was supposed to be.
And
right.
you look up Frank Collada. He now does tours in Vegas to places where they murdered people.
Oh my God.
Do you book him?
That's how insane this world
Yeah,
is.
it really
But
is.
insane.
he was a technical advisor on Casino. He got paid, and I think quite a bit of money.
Yeah.
Sure. Wow.
Well,
And
it's
he's out there
showbiz.
cashing in, and it's look, it's a crazy world, man.
It is.
Yes, indeed. Well,
But I've had wise guys come up and say this or that. Hey, anyone who ever killed anyone, that's not how you do it.
Yeah, right.
And
Thanks.
some of the guys, I think Jim, they say, got a call one night. He answered his phone, and they had showed a scene, him in the backyard with the barbecue, and showed a scene, and he said, what was it? Bosses don't wear
Yeah.
shorts.
Don doesn't wear shorts.
Don
yeah.
doesn't wear shorts. Something
I
like
love that.
So,
wow.
people sometimes mix up
That's awesome. and it-
your, people mix up your character on TV like a soap
yeah,
opera.
reality.
Yeah,
and-
right.
Well,
they-
Steve,
You're like, I'm not. Yeah, that's not who I am.
Thank you for joining us.
Sure.
This was so
I
much
know.
fun.
I know you got insulted with the pot remark.
Oh,
Don't
no,
worry.
not at all.
Okay.
No.
Smoke your brains out.
I don't get insulted by that. Some people
Take
like me, some
lessons.
people
I
don't.
want you to get an acting coach. I'll recommend.
Do
So
you
that
have
way,
an
when
acting
you
coach
go,
who's also a stoner?
she is not a stoner that I know of. Maybe she keeps it to herself.
Well, some of us
Like
don't
you
keep to
should.
ourselves. I just get accosted to end the show.
Yeah, right. Perfect. That's where we're going to end it then.
This was really fun.
Yeah,
Thank
you
for
so
joining
much.
us.
This is an
Good luck,
absolute
guys.
pleasure.
Good
Thank
luck.
you.
Check out the Comedy and Conversation with The Sopranos, 15 City Tour. Thanks, guys. This was In the Aisle.